is time for my yearly beef with the Sims community. No, this isn't my own personal pack ranking. This isn't anything to do with my unpopular opinions. This has everything to do with your unpopular opinions, because James Turner, formerly known as the Sim Supply, every year actually runs a survey to see how his community is feeling about Sims packs and what the best packs are in the year. I always say Sims is so individual to how you play, the stories that you want to tell, where you spend like most of your hours, and I think packs have different values to different people, and today we are absolutely going to prove that fact. Unsurprisingly, the most amount of people play on PC. I do feel like PS4 and Xbox One actually recently got a patch to make it a little more stable, because I heard that it really wasn't holding up too well on both of those older platforms, which is actually super unfortunate, because I think that just in general, console is easier to get people into The Sims over like Mac or PC, because obviously those are way more expensive and you kind of usually don't have like a gaming PC in your household. It's easier to get people invested when it's an older one, because that kind of means that they're cheaper now and more people are likely to have them, as shown from these, because 2.1 and then 1.85 on the older platforms, and I hope that they continue to make those stable and actually like able to run The Sims 4, whereas the newer consoles had less people playing on them. But console players, just in general, how are we? Leave your comments down below. Tell me how the game actually is playing right now. What's your experience currently on console? And then this was also super interesting, what you enjoy or know the most about in The Sims 4. So less people overall actually put their like names into Create a Sim. Live mode is definitely the biggest, but build mode really isn't too far behind it, and this kind of shows that like James's interests kind of reflect his audience's interest. Almost a quarter of the players who took part in this actually felt confident in all areas. I know I get comments that are like, it's not only a build simulation, or it's not only like Create a Sim, and those didn't used to exist in past Sims games. They did. People still enjoyed, even in Sims 2, Sims 3, there were people who enjoyed building way more than they enjoyed creating a family or like actually playing the game. I don't really know where that idea came from, because I personally have always not really enjoyed build mode all that much. I think people use that as like a insult towards The Sims 4, and I don't think it should be. I think it's cool that these different areas have different interests in them, and I also think that's really, really nice that people know so much about like individual parts of it, because it means that the feedback is actually really in depth. The next biggest is actually live mode and build mode, also not surprising. However, I do always find it really, really interesting that people don't have too much of an interest maybe in like what their family looks like, how they dress, whereas I personally feel like I show off most of my Sims personality in their fashion, and the kind of things that they're interested in build mode is usually what I try to represent in their fashion. When it comes to the individual pieces, live mode was obviously the biggest, followed by build mode, and then only Create a Sim only makes up 2.5%. Modern menswear finally is on the bottom, which I very much agree with. I personally think that is exactly where it belongs. I genuinely think this is probably the kit that you can like use the least, especially when it comes to Create a Sim. Bust the Dust, I'm actually quite surprised that that is second to bottom. I know it was pretty buggy when it first came out. They've definitely played around with the balance of it. I still don't think it's the strongest kit. They could have added a bit more to it to actually make it feel like it was worth it. However, I am shocked that it only got 4.4, considering I've seen a lot of people say I miss gameplay kits. Like, I wish they brought them back. That's personally not for me. I can do without gameplay kits, especially now that they've kind of redeemed stuff packs. Party Essentials for me should definitely be lower. However, that is the lowest build mode, which I firmly stand on. Moonlight Chic definitely higher for me. I put this way above Simtimates because I think this is way more usable than the Simtimates, and even Poolside Splash, shocking that that is 7.2, and Goth Galore. We were kind of all up in arms about this kit because it was broken, the hoodie broke Sim's eyes, and it also just like wasn't the kit that we were really expecting it to be. Instant Arrivals on top where it deserves. I would put this honestly in the top 10 of all the kits, but I fear a lot of these are gonna be build and buy mode. Definitely wouldn't have put that one as high. Maybe that just goes to show that people want more stuff for like younger Sims. I just don't think this was entirely necessary. Really? Bathroom clutter. You're gonna put that at number 6? 7.9. I can safely say I have barely used this kit since I got it. I wonder if this is slightly getting skewed because it is newer. That's not surprising, especially with the windows. I feel like an awful lot of builders use those windows. I do still wish that we maybe just had like a greenhouse that you could plop down and kind of have like an inventory of, kind of like the mausoleums that we got in Life and Death. No, I also wouldn't put everyday clutter. I know builders love clutter. I personally love a space feeling lived in. I just don't think this had quite enough hobbies for me, in the sense of I wish that it had just a little bit more personality. It felt like they focused on the gaming element, and then we also just got another gaming kit, you know. This is usually the one that people say to me though, if I were to buy any kit, I would get Book Nook. I don't really get it. I think this was actually really plain. I guess it's because of the modular bookshelves and people like the modular furniture that we got with Dream Home Decorator, but I do think that the modular furniture that they gave us isn't super interesting. It fits in well with base game, but it just looks very base game-esque. Kind of wish that James just gave a little summary of Create a Sim like in a ranking, and then also the build and buy mode in their own ranking. Feels like a chart for The Sims 4, but this shows their ranking compared to last year. Like, James has highlighted this one. Industrial Loft Kit has fallen 10 places. The ones with the little stars are actually new. Castle Estate, I actually would have thought this was higher up. Like, that being at 26 is really surprising. We voted on Castle Estate. Obviously, we did just get like a little tiny piece of concept art, which obviously showed like what it could potentially look like. A lot of people wanted the Castle Estate. It was the majority. It won the vote. So the fact that it didn't rate all that highly, do we as a community really know what we want? Although I do think if we had got the futuristic one, then that would have ranked potentially maybe even lower. Decor to the Max also fell 10 places. James has also added a new bug score. Basically, if it's not buggy, then the score won't change all that much. However, if you have ranked it like higher on the bug score, that means it's actually going to have a major effect on the score of the pack. My first pet stuff, not shocking at all. Everybody's least favorite. Probably wasn't even affected by bugs, just affected by the fact that you need cats and dogs to get so many assets. I do quite like the gameplay that was included in my first pet stuff. I have small pets quite a bit. However, they could have added just so much more to that as well. Like, we can't own snakes, we can't own like birds the way that we used to in previous pets, and that was in the bigger expansion. If you're not going to take it out on my first pet stuff, definitely think you should take it out on Luxury Party. It's not very good. Also, now there are so many other packs that have like a buffet table in and like fancy clothes, so it really is now in 2024. If it wasn't when it came out, forgettable, and you really do not need it. It's not a requirement. Spooky stuff genuinely breaks my heart. I actually really rate spooky stuff. Yeah, it's not a pack that I would be like, go out and buy this pack. Like, I wouldn't encourage people to spend £10. I just enjoy the costumes, one, predominantly for like other things, and using like get together to throw like a bachelor party where everyone goes out in like these Roman costumes. I also love having pumpkin carving in turn with seasons. I barely send my Sims bowling because it takes so long. perfect patio. Again, it's a little unnecessary nowadays that base game has a hot tub. So many other packs have a hot tub. Like, you're really not getting anything in this other than outside furniture, and it's outside furniture from like what, 2014, 2015, that just didn't look very good. All the older stuff packs are gonna be down this end of the list. Sorry, I had to pause it. I got jump scared by Cool Kitchen. That is always so close to the bottom for me. That I would trade places with spooky stuff in an instant. Spooky stuff should be at unlucky number 13, and then Cool Kitchen should be at like 19, 18. All the older stuff packs look so bad in comparison to the newer ones. I really think around like Moschino and Tiny Living was when they actually started getting better. I think people look at Moschino and are like, I hate the clothes and therefore I'm never ever gonna use this pack. But I want to go back and actually play the gameplay of this. Like, I want to do a mini let's play of the Moschino career because I really haven't played with it in such a long time. I don't really remember it all that much. Butlers are so glitchy in my game personally. Again, I haven't played with butlers in ages because of the glitches that I used to have. So it's kind of surprising that that's kind of average, like middle of the road. Same with this. I don't really know what Romantic Garden offers other than the build mode items, apart from the wishing well, I guess, being the main item, although there was a promotion where that was free. So potentially if people have like got that this year, it may have brought it up. Movie Hangout, my favorite of the old stuff packs. I'm kind of shocked that this is in number 9. I usually feel like this is an unpopular opinion of mine because really all you can do, I guess you can make your own cinemas if you own this, and now again with the Don Lothario kit, if you have that big screen, you can kind of make a cinema with it. You have the popcorn maker. I don't ever really use that. It suffers the same fate as the ice cream maker. Sims will only want to eat those things if you have them on your property, so I just like never ever have them. All you can really do in this is like watch films on the TV, but that's such like a core element of my game, which is wild that it's not in base game, to be completely honest. However, I still really like this stuff pack, and I do use the content that came with it. I think the ones that are focused on like the little younger Sims like always have more towards them because they don't feel like they have a lot. Toddler playdates, I just don't really feel unnecessary, or they would be necessary if The Sims 4 worked better and you could actually like meet families out and about, and you could meet like other parents who had toddlers. Growing Together was such a missed opportunity for that because they gave us the like community space, but that community space doesn't even have stuff for toddlers to do. It doesn't encourage like every element of the family to go out. You never meet toddlers out in the wild, so it's really hard for your toddlers to make friends with each other anyway. If The Sims 4 worked better at its core, then I would enjoy that, but I don't. I never use it. Also, how much did it hurt James to see that in number 8 when he had such beef with the ball pit? Kids room stuff, again, kind of forgettable. Like, I mean, the void critters are cute, just don't really use it all that often. This one, never surprising to me. I feel like the community really enjoys Laundry Day. I'm not a person who particularly enjoys it. I think it's quite a glitchy pack nowadays. I do like the stuff that came with it, and I also like that they gave you kind of an off-the-grid version. Nifty Knitting, yeah, I personally would rank this higher. I love that we finally got rocking chairs. I love that all ages can knit. I think Plopsy is a great invention. There are things that I would change about Plopsy. There are other things that I wish you could be able to sell on Plopsy. It definitely has its downfall. Paranormal, I get it. It's more of like an individual and unique kind of approach to a stuff pack. Not everyone enjoys the occult side of things. Kind of shocked that this is in 4 for that reason, but it has actual good gameplay, minus the fact that my Ghost Hunter career is broken. Let me know if yours is. Whilst I do think the bug scoring and that actually have an effect on the scoring is really good, I think it kind of fails if people haven't played with it in a while, because then they're not really gonna know like what bugs exist, and they're just like, yeah, paranormal stuff like isn't buggy, but it's just that they haven't played with it in a while. But again, that might just be on my end. You can never ever tell if bugs are gonna like affect everyone. Crystal Creations going on up there, brand new last year. Dude, do think this could fall in the future. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a very good pack. I do enjoy making jewelry. I like that they added to a base game collection. I think that's really cool that they added the kind of powers to it. I just don't think this is going to stand the test of time, just because it, again, has that like uniqueness. Not every sim that you make is gonna like craft jewelry. Also, was pretty darn boogie when it came out. So again, kind of shocked that the booginess didn't bring it down a little bit. Again, there's little things that I would change about this pack. I hate the fact that they haven't allowed you when your sim like makes a dough or anything like that, you can't just put that straight in the fridge. That aggravates me more than anything. All rounder, I think that is quite nice. And then Tiny Living being number one. Builders, I see you. A lot of people use this for challenges though as well. Obviously, like rags to riches challenges are so much easier if you have Tiny Living. It's weird because I feel like the theme of the pack was Tiny Living. We actually didn't really get much stuff that made your house any smaller than it could be. So it's weird to me that the main selling point of this pack wasn't really hit, but it's still number one. Laundry Day stuff got the biggest booginess, which definitely is true. Obviously, it will create fires if you don't empty out the lint tray, but then sometimes it gives you a fire and that it's a fire that you can't actually put out. Sims will constantly like pick up washing and then drop it, and then it'll get like dirty or wet, or they'll like go up to it and like stop it when it's like mid-cycle and it's still wet, and then you have like wet clothes on the floor. Also, I'm just gonna say it, James, I think you did one for the team here. I think it's really interesting that they now have actual physical data. Yeah, only by 15,000 people, but they can kind of see which are the boogiest packs in the eyes of players. But again, do people just notice that more because it's a feature that you play with more? Whereas like paranormal stuff was only 1.6. Because I've played with that recently, I know how boogie it's been for me. Mosquito stuff, I wonder if there is like some bugs in the career right now, because that being at 2 for bugs is quite interesting. How did you go up? Not James changing the rules of the survey because of my wedding stories. Basically, there are usually 4 different areas that you can rate like a bigger pack on. So those would be world, create a sim, build and buy, and then also gameplay. And he's actually weighted the world so that it doesn't actually inflate the scores, which I personally think is much better because you can have a gorgeous world, like he said, Tartosa, and then the pack actually not be that great. She's out here breaking expectations again and again, and not for the right reasons. People were so disappointed with like the size of Del Sol Valley. I actually quite like Del Sol Valley as a world though. I actually think it's one of the more interesting worlds to live in. Sue me. Tomarang being that low is quite surprising to me. I genuinely thought that people would really vibe with Tomarang more than 6.4. Wouldn't rate that one as highly. I don't know why people really enjoy San Sequoia. I actually think once you get past the little water area, which is quite nice, I think it's quite a boring world. It does have the cinema, which potentially could bring it up a little bit. I just think San Sequoia always feels empty to me. Like it never ever feels like there's enough people or even like enough places around it. 91% of users own this world. So almost 100% of people own cats and dogs. It's quite a big world. It's coastal. I understand why people like it. I just really am interested to see what makes like a better world in people's eyes. Sulani finally getting her flowers. Can we get a round of applause? I absolutely love the townies. That's it. Is it the townies? Is it the builds? Is it the lot sizes? Feel like there's so many different elements that make up a potential like world score. For me, Sulani, it's super interactive. I love the amount of different collections that you can find around it. It also constantly feels busy or constantly feels like there's people roaming around Sulani. and it's also generally just like stunning to look at. So this one, even though the pack gets like quite a lot of grief, Sulani actually is always, I feel, ranked quite highly. Samurai Shooter, yeah, you're so right for that one. I mean, that is the pièce de résistance of Sims, let's be real. We will never get a world like her ever again. She's the biggest world that we have. People love her for that. She was a cultural reset, and I understand. What is number one? Henford. Lot sizes, maybe? They've got Henford up there. Game packs dying out. She's glitchy, you know. We love to hate her. Definitely not surprising that she's in bottom place. Bugs 6.8. I feel like that potentially could be the biggest bug score that we're gonna see. For rent, to be seen. Not being able to like work in your own restaurant, like actually like as a chef and stuff like that, is a little annoying. I just love going to restaurants. I'm sorry, I do. And that side of it has actually been working better for me. Like Sims predominantly do bring me my food nowadays, to nobody's surprise. But 2 came in at 11. I personally would rank that lower than Dine Out, just because of how much I actually use restaurants and like go out to restaurants. I never usually run a restaurant. My wedding story is number 10, definitely brought down by the bugs again, ranked actually quite highly in both Creator Sim and the world. I don't think Creator Sim was all that great for this pack. Honestly, not gonna lie. James, that is my face when I see the Creator Sim score. Why are we giving this Creator Sim more credit than it's worth? Wild to me that this one isn't like closer towards the bottom. I didn't really think people rated this. I, again, definitely wouldn't give the Creator Sim a 4.3. Am I just like really, really harsh when it comes to Creator Sim rankings? I think it's because Creator Sim is one of those things, again, kind of like stuff packs, that has shifted so much and got so much better, made so much progression over the years that The Sims 4 has been alive. So obviously, like looking back on this one, I'm like, God, that is atrocious in comparison to what we have now. I don't think I would also give gameplay that much for Outdoor Retreat, but hey, maybe that's just me. I would like to know what the bugs are in Spa Day. Again, it's something that I don't really play daily, so I guess I don't ever really notice. Create Sim, probably still wouldn't have put it that high. I think 6 for gameplay is absolutely valid, especially since it got the refresh and you can kind of have your own little business of being a beautician and like going to Sims houses and giving them massages and also manicures and pedicures and facials. Jungle Adventure, I think, faces the same thing as like Outdoor Retreat. Like the fact that you have to go and like holiday there, actually surprised this is like middle of the pack. I thought this would genuinely be a little bit lower, just because I feel like I don't really see people like talking about Jungle Adventure like in a good light all that often. Realm of Magic, gameplay, I definitely wouldn't give a 7. No. This is where we start to disagree. I'm like, what outside of like the magic adds to this gameplay, you know? Vampires, where it belongs, above Realm of Magic. Thank you very much. Gameplay at 7 and build mode at 7. I guess it does have that like Victorian charm that not a lot of packs have, and it is quite fancy, it's quite gothic. I'm sorry. How is this number 3? It's the build. It's the build that consistently drags Dream Home Decorator up. Because of that like modular furniture, Creator Sim, definitely not a 7 in my eyes. I would probably give it more of like a 5.5, 6 at most. Gameplay, I also wouldn't give 6. It's basically something that we could have already done in the game using our imagination. You can have a sim, go to a house, talk to someone, and then be like, yeah, I'll renovate it for you. And then you can just go into build buy mode. You can change what their house looks like, and then you can cheat some money onto your Sims funds. Like, that was already a possibility within the game with just a little bit of imagination. I know sometimes people want gameplay to support their imagination, which I get it. I also would like to see that for a lot of different things. I just don't think you can claim that gameplay makes it almost a 7. And also, that bug score should be way higher. I'll hold my hands up and say I haven't really played it all that much recently. On release, there were full like activities in the career that you could not do. Like there were higher levels of the career that just were like a floor renovation that just would not work. And I don't know if they've maybe potentially fixed that. Maybe I'll do a little series. Back in the pandemic, I did a series on The Sims 3 of like things I've never done in The Sims 3. Maybe for the Sims 4 one, I'll just call it like packs I haven't played in a while and I want to see if they're still buggy. Parenthood, no, I also don't think this should be number 2. I don't think it's the strongest game pack that we have at all. Although I do really like when you can have like the grounding and stuff in Parenthood, so I would still honestly rank it pretty highly, just not at number 2. Werewolves being number 1, where it belongs. It's one of the best packs I think we have in The Sims 4. It's definitely the best occult that we have. Honestly, I think in the franchise, it was really in depth, it was really in detail. They focused on like a number of different things, but those things that they did focus on, they went so in depth with. And even though the werewolves look like that and they're just walking around on their 2 hind legs, people still really enjoy this pack. And I think that shows the strength of this. Is it just because we have hot sexy werewolves? Maybe. Ooh, Dine Out's actually fallen, but that's because of the bug implementation, and then My Wedding Stories fell by 5. Obviously also because the world wasn't rated as highly. Dream Home Decorator did get the next worst score for bugs and has actually fallen. Oh my god. Was that at number 1? Yeah, get down there. You know what? Thank you, James, for the bug score. And also thank you to you lot who did actually vote. My faith is being slowly restored. Every time Dream Home Decorator loses a place on this list, I trust the Sims community again more and more. Bugs at 3.7. I have played with the scientist career, and there was definitely like a couple of glitches that I was noticing with the invention constructor. But if you have played this recently and you've noticed like a fair few bugs, I would love to hear what you've actually seen. Wild that the gameplay is still standing up. Like almost a 7 for our very first expansion pack. I think people just want a refresh. Like people just want more careers like this. And I genuinely think if they did that and then obviously like squash the bugs, I think this could be like at least a middle of the road pack. For rent at 15. Oh my goodness gracious me. Definitely has been brought down by the bugs 100%. 6.4 all round buggy. It's still buggy for me now. James actually ranked this himself a 9 when it came to gameplay, excluding any bugs. So that's like if no bugs existed, then what would you rank it? I still don't think I would give For Rent a 9 just because it's an interesting idea. I just don't really think there's enough in terms of gameplay. Maybe for me personally, I just love her so much. I just always think Get Famous deserves so much more. I don't know what else Get Famous can do. Like, what is the beef that people have with Get Famous? Are people like playing with this to like its fullest ability? Like, I love that you can gain fame off like so many things. I love that you can earn awards and like you can be put up for an award if you're famous. I absolutely love like the music production. I think that's so sick. Is it that people are like kind of a little bit peeved that we didn't maybe get like a singer career or bands? I would put Creator Sim at like a 7. I would put the gameplay at probably an 8. I genuinely think there's so much more than just like that acting career. And I don't know if people maybe like forget about that. 4.3 is quite impressive for bugs. I was expecting that to have a much higher score actually, because I feel like prom and graduation haven't worked for so many people for such a long time. Like literally since the pack first came out. I recently sent 2 of my teenagers to high school and only one of them has the tasks, where it used to be both of them. Gameplay being at 6, get down to like a 3. I'm not even joking. I would fully put the gameplay of High School Years so low. I just don't understand why people think this pack has like gameplay that is enjoyable. Create a Sim being an 8, yeah, you know what? You got me there. My baby, my baby. I love island living. I know it's an unpopular opinion, and okay, you do not. Why did I say it like that? You don't need to call me out in the comments. I get it. Like, everyone wants updated mermaids, everyone wants houseboats, everyone wants a refresh. I just can't help it. I really like her. I love living in Sulani. I love like going diving. I love that you can like be a fisherman. I love the community element of it. I just think it's enjoyable. I don't know if this would crack my own personal top 10 because it does feel like it's lacking like quite a bit of features, but I do have such a soft spot for it. I was always out here thinking that people enjoyed this pack. I played with it recently and I didn't actually notice like really any particularly like concerning amount of bugs. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I don't understand how this is at number 10. Like, honestly, one of my top 5 expansions. Maybe people just don't get as much use out of a get together as I do, but I love clubs. I think clubs allow me to do so much within the game. I also love having nightclubs. Hey, I want to bunk off school. Like, do you want to go hang out at the bluffs? And I'm like, hell yeah, like I'll be there. I personally think Get Together deserves more than being at rank number 10. It's the drama, Mick. I just love it. My baby, my baby. I'm gonna stop. You deserve so much more. Create a Sim, I would probably bring that up to like a 7, maybe. Gameplay, I love eco lifestyle, but that is because I love hobbies. I love having my Sims have different interests, and I also absolutely love playing a rags to riches and dumpster diving. Being able to use the selling tables, like voting on community lots, has such a special place in my heart, and it really, really just I'm so enthusiastic about that gameplay loop in any save that I ever do. It doesn't have to be a rags to riches, that I really, really go hard on eco lifestyle. I would take bullet for her, and at this point she needs it. She needs defending, and I will be eco lifestyle's number 1 defender till the day I die. I'm shocked that the bug score is only 2.7 because NAPs an awful lot of the time do feel like bugs. Your Sims are whipping out future cubes at any given opportunity. Yeah, that's an NAP. That's the Loves Technology NAP. Your Sims are whipping out an iPad at any given moment. Yep, that's an NAP. That's the creative NAP. Your Sims are walking around bags on their heads. Yep, you guessed it, NAP. Your Sims are constantly fighting each other, but weirdly not losing relationships with each other. NAP. Flirting with each other, weirdly not gaining relationship. NAP. Oh, they're coming in, they're breaking into your homes and making a white cake. Again, that's the creativity one or the foodie one. I can't remember which one that is affected by, but I know that feels like a glitch, so just thought I would give you a heads up. They hate to see me coming when we're talking about eco lifestyle. Love Struck in at number 8. One of the new packs that we got, just dependent on the gameplay. I don't think it's really all that strong. I always think that's really, really weird considering it's so much like Growing Together, but I feel like Growing Together just did it so much better and had so much more of an impact on my game than Love Struck. I just think everything outside of the main elements of Love Struck weren't enough to make it even feel. Where is Horse Ranch? Sorry, I was about to say everything outside of it makes it not feel like an expansion. Where is Horse Ranch? Which little horse girl got their hooves on this survey and swayed it so that Horse Ranch could be in the top 10 of expansion packs? Gameplay 7.3. Really? What allows cats and dogs to be a 7.3 in gameplay? I beg of you. You can barely even go and like walk your dog because that gets like squashed by a bug. I know it said like without bugs, okay? So let me take that with a pinch of salt. Let me retract my statement real quick. What can you do in cats and dogs that allows the gameplay to be over a 7? That would be a 4, my eyes, in my opinion. There's the veterinary career, which honestly does feel like pretty bugged. You can't, without trying so hard and dedicating your entire life to it, really get to a level 5 of the veterinary career. I feel like most people don't even play as vets. So like outside of that, what? Teaching your dog how to sit or talk is giving the gameplay a 7. You can't enter them into like competitions. It's not like Nintendogs where you can go like throw a frisbee for them. Number 6, that's fine. I don't actually have anything to say about any of these rankings. I would maybe put Create Sim. No, actually. There are some pieces that I absolutely adore. There are some pieces that I physically hate. So Create Sim, I would maybe push it to a 6.5, but all in all, yeah, it's fun. I think this was actually potentially done survey-wise before the bug of like overlapping festivals was introduced to the game. I do feel like potentially if James had waited a little bit, the bugs would be so much higher on this. So I'm actually very thankful as a San Myshuno groupie. Absolutely not. Snowy Escape, you should not be there. Gameplay, to me, I would probably push it down to like a 4. And honestly, I would probably take the world points off for that as well, for the fact that so much of the gameplay is heavily tied to the world. Pause. Rewind. How has that made it to the top 4? Sometimes these videos make me question, like, am I out of touch with the community? I feel like I see so many people in and outside of my community, so like wider Sims community as well, just say that this shouldn't have been an expansion. There was not enough gameplay in there. I don't understand how this gameplay is anywhere near a 7. Horse Ranch for me, gameplay wise, would probably be like a 3. Again, it faces the same thing of cats and dogs. Like, it doesn't feel like there's much gameplay. Like, I don't really understand how that can sit at a comfortable 7. Outside of like the horses, there is a little bit more to do than in cats and dogs. So I kind of get why it's higher than like cats and dogs in the sort of pet kind of expansions. But there's definitely not 7.1, 7.2 in general. I genuinely am gobsmacked by that. Growing Together, yeah, absolutely valid. I think that deserves a top 3 spot. I really enjoy Growing Together. The gameplay is fun for me. Build mode, create sim, world. All in all, the bugs, I'm thinking maybe potentially has more to do with like infants perhaps, because I don't really feel like I notice that many bugs when it comes to Growing Together. Maybe the kids riding the bikes, actually. That was pretty glitchy on release. People have always loved family packs. I mean, Parenthood being so high up in game packs, like, yeah, it makes sense. Seasons being at number 2. I'll, again, never ever agree with this. I'd like to see the gameplay score on this. James, hit me with it, because outside of holidays, which need a major refresh anyway, like that system just needs updating an unbelievable amount, which I actually made a video on, so I'm gonna link that. But outside of that, you have the flower arranging, I guess you have beekeeping, but they're not like main points of gameplay. Outside of seasons, what really is there to do when it comes to gameplay? I tried not to have beef. I tried not to have beef with the Sims community for 1 year. What is there to do in seasons? Don't get me wrong, I know the holidays are a big part of the gameplay, but they're also not that great. Cottage living, sitting comfortable at number 1. You know what? I love cottage living. I don't personally think it would be my number 1 for an expansion. However, I do think there was so much actually included with cottage living. The festivals, you had the animal side of it, like taking care of animals. You also had the like actual crops and like farm side of it. The little quests that you could do for the townies. Oh, life and death wasn't included in this survey, which I'm kind of sad about. I actually think life and death could have potentially made it to the top 3. So that will be interesting to see next year's version gives the quality of an expansion. And I've kind of always said that about cottage living. This should be the blueprint for future expansion packs. Like, they should all be that big. High school years fell 6 places, which I'm so glad about that. Finally, people are realizing that that pack really wasn't everything that it could have been. How that hasn't fallen from grace, I do not know. There's my reaction, my unfiltered reaction, honestly. Even though this video is going to be edited down, I feckin' hope so, because guess how long it is? An hour and 20 outside of editing. My mouth has been moving a lot like a rat. Yappa, yappa, yappa. Glad we could have our annual yappathon. Glad I could fight you once again. Honestly, for as long as Horse Ranch is in number 4 in expansion packs, I fear we're gonna beef every year. As always, super interesting to see. I also love how every year James kind of switches this up and is like, okay, how can we make this more accurate? What can we do here to like switch it up? Like what is actually gonna have an effect or maybe not have an effect? And I think like giving feedback on this survey is really, really cool because like the next year, sometimes I see some of that like be put into action. Honestly, I kind of can't really think of anything to add to that kind of feedback this time around. The world's being weighted definitely helped it out and didn't make it feel like they were inflated because of them. And also the bugs like bringing the score down, I definitely agree with that as well. So good changes. Whilst I obviously hear reactions and like see reactions not only from my community but the wider community, like this just goes to show that I don't know everything. Okay, I thought that we were all on the same page about Horse Ranch, but it's fine if no one wanted to like, you know, give me a heads up that we actually now love that pack. Love Struck being middle of the road was actually surprising to me. I genuinely thought I was kind of on the more negative side of that pack reaction. I didn't feel that a lot of people really agreed with like my early access content and like how I really spoke about the pack, but I think it's interesting to see that the score kind of did replicate that it feels like not really an expansion pack and wasn't like as in depth, and people also still prefer Growing Together over Love Struck, even though they are the same type of pack. Like they both very much focused on systems and like how relationships actually work and like what affects relationships. But again, I just think Growing Together had a lot more outside of that actual system than Love Struck did. Thank you if you took part in this survey. Thank you to James for once again putting his effort into creating this survey and then also creating this video. Thank you for being so gracious and letting me react to it as well. Really, really appreciate that James has always kind of been supportive of this and hasn't just been like, run your own survey. So thank you, James, for that. I would love to know all of your thoughts down below. Hit me up. Is there anything you agree with me on, don't agree with me on, anything you were shocked by in these rankings? I want to hear it all. I appreciate you all, and I will speak to you all in the next one. Bye now.